Hi guys, welcome to Robin Hood Diaries. As promoted, of course, tonight is going to be, I think I said, old 1970s Hollywood and 70s Hollywood as I remember it. I think that were the previews. Anyway, so I am really trying to keep these things short for you guys so you don't have to endure a half-hour program. So I'm really going to jump around. So Hollywood in the 70s. I consider the best year of my life, believe it or not, 1978. It was for very specific reasons, a million of them, but 1978 Hollywood is like nothing you can even imagine. Honest to God. Okay, nightclub scene. The closest I ever got to Studio 54 in Los Angeles, in Hollywood, in the same vein as Studio 54, was a club called Scandals. It was around for like 5 minutes, a couple of years. And it was in Hollywood, and it was very Studio 54-ish, but it was unattached building, two-story, but it looked like one from the outside. You get in, oh my God, you guys. I mean, from outside it looked like nothing. It was like a beige box. You go inside, we are talking spiral staircase, no, but like grand staircase coming down, and then there's like this huge dance floor area, and then you go in another area, and it's this huge kind of area, like banquet room size area with a stage. And so my mom, if anyone could swing me into anywhere, like she did in Manhattan to New Year's Eve, impossible place to get to, Hollywood Rock. What is it? Uh, Hard Rock Cafe. So, so Scandals. I mean, it's a huge deal, like mob scenes. So I get in because it's Nina Blanchard's birthday. My mother is very tight with Nina Blanchard. My mom ran Saxon from 60 to 70. We all know that. So Nina Blanchard was like the upper scale Ford models. I mean, she handled the supermodels on the West Coast. So I go to Scandals. My mom has to chit chat with Nina Blanchard because it's her birthday. I'm right, of course, attached to her hip in these occasions, as I will tell you in another one later on. And there's supermodels everywhere, right? I mean, as I knew them, like familiar face supermodels. And so I'm in this cluster of supermodels with Nina Blanchard. Then I'm looking over to wherever, and Le Freak was like the huge hit at the time by Chic. And all I friggin' remember was like major disco scene like I've never seen on a dance floor with fog everywhere and lights ablazing. Le Freak had literally just come out. So then there was this other room. There was sort of like disco tropical something or other, and in another room, and then up the grand staircase. So that was super cool. Also, now for my age set at the time, we're talking 1978, we're talking 12, okay? But I'm a very precocious 12, obviously. We've all discussed that for 650 videos. So, there was a place called the Sugar Shack. Now, you may be familiar with the Odyssey, that's more 80s ish. But the Sugar Shack in North Hollywood, well, Studio City area, over the hill, Valley Girl area, whatever, was this tiny little club, juice bar, disco. And it was so innocuous. It was so like, you'd never know. And you go in, and again, it's this um, not like Hawaii-ish, but like kinda a little bit, like Shack, like Love Shack, I guess, type thing. And there were child stars that went there. I really don't want to name them because it was a hookup place for teenagers. So anyway, that was the Sugar Shack. Anyone can tell you. You ask any actor of my age that lived in Hollywood at that time, you say the Sugar Shack, they're going to know. Try it out. So, and in terms of landmarks, at this time, 78, 70s, I mean, I'm like entrenched in the 1970s from day one. As far back as I can remember the late 60s, like you would remember your third or fourth birthday, but 1970s are ingrained in my head. Again, 1978, the year of the decade of the millennia. But landmarks were wasting away. Now, the period I'm talking about, you see pictures of the Hollywood sign, go Google them. At its worst, there was no Hollywood sign. I mean, I remember when it had deteriorated so bad before the renovation, and I don't know, in the early '80s or whenever. Um, it was there was nothing. There was I think there was like a, not even a no. It was like three letters, like an O, an L, and a D, and everything else had crumbled. And I think by the time the renovation came around, it had all crumbled. Other places, hotels, like infamous hotels, just laying waste, empty with like, squatters and all kinds of things that you will never, Garden of Allah and Schwab's again. We'll touch on that. Schwab's institution, right? I've mentioned that before. I lived there with my dad because, every actor, that's where I met Elvis. Okay, so there you go. Googie's, which was right next to Schwab's. You can Google all this that I used to go to. Googie's, again, James Dean's favorite coffee shop, I guess you could call it. A lot of time at Googie's. Same intersection of Crescent Heights and Sunset. Anyway, so there was all of that, and then there was the scene of like, I don't want to say celebrity hippie, but kinda. Everything was entrenched in Laurel Canyon. There, all the let's say, I mean, it's Hollywood, so all the upper scale hippie scenes, kind of, but were Frank Zappa's estate. Like, oh my God, 3 minutes from where I grew up. I grew up at Sunset in Fairfax, if you're interested. I lived in Beverly Hills until I was 8 years old, right across from Beverly High, and then I moved to Hollywood and what is known as West Hollywood from there on. So the hippie houses and that kind of thing. Mama Cass Elliott, I've done a whole show on her. That kind of scene was going down Laurel Canyon. She lives on Love Street by the Doors. That's Laurel Canyon. So that's going on in the '70s, big time. And then you go into the city areas, of course. And first of all, there's head shops everywhere. I mean, or I guess you call them smoke shops now. Well, head shops, we knew them as head shops. And they were very liberally about, who was there and whatever. And you can go to the Tinderbox at 13 and buy like a carton of exotic cigarettes. So anyway, these head shops were literally everywhere. In fact, I did an immensely popular stage play that moved to a theater on Sunset Boulevard that was right next to this infamous head shop. Well, infamous head shop it exploded, or there was a fire that started with a bomb. I don't know, whatever. So anyway, that was the big one, but they were everywhere. Health food stores. Oh my God, every half a block there was a new health food store, health food restaurant. Now, speaking of health food restaurants, The Source, again, Google, very famous restaurant. Health food, started by a cult. I remember when they walked around in robes and turbans, but it was the best. And it was everyone that was anyone was at The Source in the '70s. What can I say? Again, Google it. It was just beyond. My dad, we were there all the time, again, like Schwab's. My dad would feed the bees on the patio by putting honey on his fingers and whatever. What was it? Crunch something. I was trying to think of his favorite. Too much crunch. That's what he ordered all the time. It was vile. Anyway, okay. So, that's kind of, okay. Now, establishments. Let me tell you about this one. I swear. Okay, there was this rinky-dink little place on Sunset Boulevard. Again, not very far from where I was. It was a freestanding little kind of hut type place. It looked like a hut, but like, wherever you get little hut things. This was called Famous Amos. And I frequented Famous Amos. This little hut place got taken over by a black gentleman, of course, that we all know now. And he would literally sell cookies across the counter, you guys. I mean, I would go with my friend Alessia, my best friend. Hey, Alessia! And just buy cookies because they were really good cookies. They were big cookies, but they were not these little cookies. And that was Amos, who was baking and selling right there. I think there may be one other person there. Cookies at Famous Amos Cookie Shop. Well, now we all know you go to Circle K and there's cookies. There's Famous Amos bags of cookies. So that's where that all came about, and that's pretty cool. In terms of out and about, out on the scene, again, sometimes attached to my mother's hip because she knew everybody and their mother. And I remember a remarkable moment where I met former Governor Jerry Brown and Linda Ronstadt. I was, again, joined at the hip with my mother who knew everybody, and I was decked out in like roots. Roots was a big, at that time, like, like a vest or leather shoes with a leather, like merce. The shoes were famous. And I was decked out in roots. And I was brought to this campaign, this big campaign for Jerry Brown to his gubernatorial campaign. Again, big thing. Oh my God, 1978, my year, 78, 78. So I'm decked out in my roots, and we get to, it wasn't Bel Air, but it was, where was it? Coldwater Canyon, something like, upscale. And big pool, but like huge house, mansion-y type thing. And it was log jam. And I'm there in my roots, and I'm like thinking, whoa, and this is 70, 78. And we wiggle, lots of cocktail dresses and hors d'oeuvres going around. And my mom finds some reason to talk to Jerry Brown, of course, through somebody, through God knows what, fashion, God knows what. And I literally get to meet Jerry Brown. And guess who was next to him? Linda Ronstadt, who I also got, it wasn't like an introduction. It was more kind of like you're brought up to someone with someone who knows someone. And so there's an acknowledgement of a kind of a hello, politeness. Well, Jerry Brown, last minute of his campaign, me decked out in my 70's leather roots, plaid leather vest, whatever. And who's in front of me but Linda Ronstadt? Now, Linda Ronstadt at that time was the thing, 78, as were a million other things that I was into. Next topic or subject. So, a lot of also what was going down around this time was the DRUJ, of all people, I should know the spelling of that word, DRUGS. And it's the name of a soda, Coca-Cola. So we all know what we're talking about. That shit was flying around willy friggin' nilly, okay? I wasn't doing it. Never was really my thing. I can't step away from the other stuff, but Coke just really, Coca-Cola didn't, I don't know, whatever. I've been there, but not really. But it was everywhere. In fact, someone very close, I can't say who, was very into sort of the interest in that marketing in that area. And I know an extremely famous band that I literally saw things, stuff going on. So, but I can't say the band because they're still alive and they'll sue me. Okay. Oh my God, you guys. I guess I gotta get to my, I don't know, the part that's carved in my mental plate forever, and it was Gay Pride 1978. Believe it or not, I was at Gay Pride 1978. Not just like dragged along, like this was a thing you go to. Gay Pride 78, the parade went down Hollywood frigging Boulevard, okay? Like down a crowded Hollywood Boulevard. And I remember where, again, Alessi and I were situated on Hollywood Boulevard. It was an armored personnel carrier, you guys, the kind of tanks that don't tear up the road, they're like on wheels, and with a top, that comes off, obviously, so you can get out. And they're weaving around this tank, loads of people around the corner to go down to a parking lot, which was Gay Pride. As the armored personnel carrier is turning the corner, a drag queen, much like Divine, not copying, is suddenly out of the porthole thing on top of the tank. And this drag queen is, 1978, guys, tossing and throwing handfuls of popper packets. Amyl nitrate as sort of is known as poppers. Oh God, I hope you can say that. She's throwing them out to the crowd, you guys. She's throwing them out to the crowd. Then she cranks her way down in this tank to Sunset Boulevard. And again, like I said, the whole Pride, everything that you're used to was a parking lot with a chain link fence around it. And guess what? When she gets down with the tank, we all go down. And guess what is one of the first attractions in the parking lot? I'm going to date myself here. 1978, guys, you know what it was? A kissing booth. A frigging kissing booth. Dudes, there, $5 a pop, making out. If that doesn't date me, I don't know what does, you guys. I honestly don't know what. I don't know what. But I guess that was my early sort of... When I saw that kissing booth, to be honest with you guys, it just occurred to me, that day, at that Pride in that parking lot, I stood there. And I stood there for an inordinate amount of time. Honestly, it's off the top of my head. And I remember my dad coming up to me, not yanking me away, but sort of half shuffling me along and half sort of morbidly curious about why I had been, I would say, at least 5 minutes standing looking at that kissing booth. And there was a line of guys waiting and paying to go up to these other guys and make out, full tilt. Wow. That just occurred to me. Well, anyway, so thank you for joining me this evening. As promised, I always try to keep true to my word. Old Hollywood 70s as I remember it. Well, there you go. I don't know what time we're at, but I hope it's not a half an hour. And again, everybody, I love you. I adore you for putting up with me and giving me my weird ass therapy of being able to connect with you each evening. Tomorrow, I have a topic. I'm going to plug it into the preview, and we're keeping it on a regular schedule. I still want that interview marathon, actually, which is coming up this weekend. Couple days, weekend marathon double interview. Just remembered. Okay, do everything I wouldn't do. I'll see you. Bye.